In a key meeting in the town of Montoire, Hitler asked Pétain to join him and declare war on Britain. Pétain again refused, but agreed to an historic compromise. He revealed the outcome of the meeting to the French people.
I responded freely to the Führer's invitation. I underwent no diktat, no pressure from him. A collaboration was envisioned between our two countries. I accepted the principles. The details will be discussed later.
At the time, collaboration did not seem to be such a dirty word. Millions of French people were already sharing their lives with the Nazis. Collaborating was seen as normal. For instance, the famous French designer Coco Chanel conducted a long affair with a German officer who installed her in his suite in the Ritz Hotel.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
And world-famous entertainer Maurice Chevalier would soon be singing to German soldiers in Berlin.
All right, thank you, boys.
Even Jean Borotra, the legendary Wimbledon tennis champion, became a collaborator. He became Vichy's Minister of Sport, though he always claimed he and Pétain were true French patriots.
It was a thing which almost all the Frenchmen wanted very badly, that to see the Germans going out. And of course, he knew that it was going to be a long process, and he could say nothing about it. He never said that to anybody, I think. But he had to manage at that time to see to it that France could live until that happened.
Demanding accountability and defending your rights against the police specifically, and the government generally, are difficult and dangerous tasks. Your right to watch the government and record what you see is a natural right that is protected by the Constitution, and it cannot be taken away by the government.
I was sent this picture a while back by a subscriber and activist here in the Northwest. He's supported me for a long time and is very active in his community. His channel is Time for Changes Northwest. When I got the picture, he said it was sent to him by a friend, and the first thing I noticed is there's no license plate on the van in the back. It has a Titus Will dealership advertisement on the back, making me think it must be a new van. However, there doesn't seem to be a temporary tag on the van either. I wonder how this company gets away with driving this van without any visible license plate or proof of it being registered. Then it dawned on me, with the name of the company being Blue Line HVAC, and them clearly trying to tie themselves to at the very least supporting law enforcement, they're collaborators. Collaborators. It kind of makes you think, doesn't it? If what I preach on these videos is true, that we aren't free, and we're controlled by our masters in the ruling class, how do relatively so few people hold such power and control over the masses? Believe me, that question has many answers. But watching a recent video of Larken Rose on Rica, the Hopeful Voluntarist channel, made me realize how they pull it off. It's collaborators. Watch these next few clips from that video, and you'll understand what I mean.
When the German army invaded, very quickly a bunch of political opportunist buttheads that happened to be French realized, we might be able to hang on to some of our power if we kiss the butt of the new tyrant who's in charge. And so German army came in and they said, hey, which of you want to be shot and or exiled and or whatever, and which of you want to now kiss our butts and do as you're told? And so you got the Vichy government of France, which was a bunch of French people being collaborators for their oppressors, helping the Nazis to oppress the people of France. And it wasn't just the politicians, it was a bunch of their law enforcers and their bureaucrats and their tax collectors and the whole control mechanism that was already there in France because it already had a government. And the parts of it, the people in it that said, I'm not going to play this game, I'm not going to act as a collaborator for this invading army, well, you don't get to play, get out. And then the ones, like most politicians do, the ones who cared more about themselves than any principle or freedom or anything like that said, yeah, we'll kiss your butt and do what you say as long as we can still have a little bit of power. So imagine that you're somebody living in France and you decide to be part of the French resistance. Like, I'm not too fond of the German army and the Nazis coming over and saying they get to rule my country. Your enemy is not just the Germans. It's not just the German army. Now it's the German army and our own freaking French politicians that decided to kiss their ass and collaborate with them to oppress us. And the people who decided there, the French people who decided to stay there as enforcers and bureaucrats and paper pushers and tax collectors. And as if that wasn't bad enough, there you are, the guy in France trying to resist this. There's another layer of collaborators, which is all of your law-abiding neighbors who are still going along with authoritarian control, despite the fact that it changed from, well, now yesterday we had French tyrants bossing us around and taking our money, and now we have German tyrants bossing us around and taking our money. But whatever, you have to obey the law. You have to do as you're told. So a lot of your neighbors, there you are as the French guy, not too happy with being taken over by the Nazis, a lot of your neighbors are also collaborators with your oppressors. So it's not at all as simple as these were the bad guys who came in and oppressed us, and these are the good guys resisting. So everything from the actual malicious politicians to the stupid cops who just say, I'm just doing my job, and it may be your neighbor, it may be your relative doing the job of oppressing you on behalf of these psychos in DC or state capital or wherever it is, all the way down to the neighbors who will squeal on you. So you realize it isn't just there's some bad people over there, there's a small number of bad people and a huge number of intellectual and moral cowards who are collaborators with the bad people. And often it's just from weakness and cowardice. Well, I just go along, I just do as I'm told, I'm a law-abiding taxpayer. But they are still collaborators. They are still part of the enemy and part of the threat to your freedom. And part of the threat to their own freedom, but they seem too dense to notice that half the time. One of the worst tyrants, one of the worst collaborators of the tyrants is your own brain. And I can speak from experience that when I got to the point of intellectually understanding that authority is bogus, that nobody can have the right to rule, that, all the different reasons why government cannot be legitimate. Like if you take away all the things that make it illegitimate and violent and immoral, it's not government anymore, it's just people organizing and cooperating. Even after I came to that conclusion and realized that, I could still feel inside me the training, the deeply implanted indoctrination. And it's like the Pavlov study of training dogs. If there's a dog in the rolled up magazine, he gets smacked on the nose every time he poops on the rug, and dogs being the approval-loving wusses they are, they go, I know that was bad, I wasn't supposed to do that because you keep smacking me. Whereas cats are just anarchists, and it's like, you smack me, I don't give a crap. But these wussy statist dogs, they learn that's bad. And after a while, you don't have to hit them anymore because they know it was bad for me to poop on the rug because they have it deeply ingrained in them. Well, most of us, including me for a long time, have ingrained in us the feeling, the profound assumption that disobedience equals bad. And that is trained into us from before we can even talk by most of our parents and by teachers and by society in general and obviously by government and by the media. It's constantly bashed into us. And the depth of that feeling that has nothing to do with intellectual understanding, but the depth of that feeling that it is bad to disobey authority takes a while to overcome. And I don't particularly like admitting that even when I was intellectually an anarchist, I could still feel that. Like there's a guy with a uniform and a badge, and part of me is like, do as he says. My brain is like, shut up. And if you want to know how powerful that type of indoctrination can be, one of the best examples I can point to is slavery. And I remember, I think I was still even a statist when this occurred to me. I was like, how does slavery work? You got one fat white guy on a plantation and you have 50 strong black slaves. How the hell does he keep them in line? Why don't they kill him or beat him up or run away or something? They're way stronger than he is. You know, he might have a gun, but, you know, he's going to sleep sometime. It didn't occur to me until much later, and then I had a more thorough understanding after I read the autobiography of Frederick Douglass, who was a slave. Most of them thought they were supposed to be slaves. And that's really hard for people today to understand and believe. What do you mean they thought they were supposed to be slaves? And Frederick Douglass talked about his own journey of realizing, I don't think this is okay. And to me, and the guy was brilliant, like his writings are just brilliant. To me, physically escaping slavery was way less impressive than reading about his mental escape from slavery, where he noticed the indoctrination and he undid it in himself. And then he tried to undo it in others, and he would argue with them, and a lot of the slaves would literally believe that to run away is immoral and constitutes stealing, because you're stealing yourself from the guy who rightfully owns you. That is how powerful this indoctrination can be. Let me use Frederick Douglass's own words. To make a contented slave, you must make a thoughtless one. It is necessary to darken his moral and mental vision, and as far as possible, to annihilate his power of reason. He must be able to detect no inconsistencies in slavery. That's the part of the quote you usually hear. I'm going to add what comes next. The man that takes his earnings must be able to convince him that he has a perfect right to do so. It must not depend upon mere force. The slave must know no higher law than his master's will. The whole relationship must not only demonstrate to his mind its necessity, but its absolute rightfulness.
I really encourage you to go check out the full video. A link to Rica's channel and video are in the description, as well as all of my sources. She mirrored the video, but go check it out on her channel and tell her questionable authority sent you while you're there. If you like her content, consider subscribing to her, and of course do the same for Time for Changes Northwest. Anyone willing to stick their nose out and speak up against collaboration needs our support. Getting back to this picture of Blue Line HVAC, a visit to their website reveals an HVAC company that is family-owned, stating the current owner took over the business from his father-in-law. I did notice in doing some research that the company has not always been called Blue Line HVAC. The name was changed from Champion Air HVAC to Airtex HVAC in 2014. The first time I saw Blue Line HVAC listed was in 2016. Now granted, this is just info taken from Facebook. However, it is their own Facebook page that they maintain, so they uploaded the pictures and made the updates. I don't know why they changed their name, but I've had a decent amount of business background, and changing your business name is usually not something people do often. Let alone 3 different times from 2014 to 2016. Reading some of the reviews of the company, it's hit and miss, but there are some pretty bad reviews mixed in there too. Maybe that's why the name changed so often, to try to escape their mixed reputation. My point in showing you this and bringing you this story is to try to relate to you the level of collaboration with our rulers and government by the oppressed. Someone like me who questions everything even takes this to the socioeconomic class subject. This is marketing. People who tend to have air conditioning and utilize most of the services provided by this company are going to be in the middle class and or above that. These are the people who tend to support law enforcement, mainly because Leos give them the false impression that these armed gangs representing our masters can somehow keep all of their possessions safe from being stolen, like we are told by our masters. In reality, order followers don't keep our things from getting stolen or damaged by others. We do that ourselves. We put up fences, doors, we add locks to them, and put security cameras up, and much more to make sure we protect what is ours. We're told that the police presence is what keeps criminals at bay and from taking our stuff. This isn't true, and criminals know it. They know that if we can't defend ourselves or our property, cops are going to show up after they have already done what they want. Then, it's only a matter of if they get caught by police. Now I challenge you to look up how many unsolved crimes there are at any police or sheriff's department to verify this plan doesn't work. We can solve crimes on our own after they happen. We don't need cops to do that. So basically, we have an HVAC company appealing to its customers by saying, we support the gangs that you think keep you and your stuff safe. The masses of collaborators going along with the theft, extortion, and oppression by our masters in this supposed civilized society, who see that criminal activity as civic duty, it tells their collaborating minds this must be a righteous and just company. Plus, they support the heroes keeping us all safe. For just a minute though, let's shed that collaborator mindset and look at the reality of this free and just society we supposedly live in. First, we have a small group of people that is elected by a mob, or as the collaborators would call it, the majority, to make rules governing over everybody. But mainly the mob sees it as dictating to the minority who isn't in that mob how to live their lives. Keep in mind, if you don't live it the way these masters have written it down on paper, those statutes they wrote down on that paper are backed by the threat of force. That force is in the form of the enforcement gangsters that use the blue line as their gang symbol. They use these gangs of enforcement thugs to enforce their will on anyone who doesn't go along with the mob rule. If you don't like your hard-earned money being stolen from you and used to fund wars in foreign countries or to subsidize research for one of Bayer Crop Science's studies on weaponizing our food supply, and then getting the FDA, which is fully funded with stolen funds, to approve these foods and other products brought to us by these globalist corporations. And that's just one example of many in pretty much any industry in the world. Think about it. Would you support a company that had pictures and or insignias for organized crime rings on its vehicles like this? If instead of a blue line flag, they had a picture of a mobster putting a dead body in the trunk of a car, or if they had pictures of mobsters beating some shop owner for protection money, just like our masters do in government. My guess is a company advertising that on their vans wouldn't be in business very long. In reality, this is exactly what we have. A small group of people calling themselves democratically elected officials make rules for everybody to live by. And if you aren't part of the mob supporting the ruling authoritarians, your free will doesn't matter. They will steal your money and call it taxes, and then use that money to first and foremost enforce the rules they make that keep you under their control with armed goons paid for by that money they stole from you. They convince you these rules are righteous and with good intentions, so you'll cooperate and collaborate, putting pressure on those who resist. I don't know about you, but I will never knowingly be a patron of a business that supports such criminal gangs. I support businesses that promote the idea of individual liberty instead of mob rule and control. Guys, I know this video is a little bit different than most of my work, and I'm going to start posting more videos like this in addition to my Blue Line Gang videos. I started this channel because I was done standing on the sidelines just watching all of this madness take place. My journey has made me question myself and those around me even more. What I realized is exactly what Larken Rose said in his speech. The biggest problem with this society of a few masters ruling over the masses isn't the masters themselves. Yes, they're the source of the problem, but the reason they get away with it is the masses of collaborators out there, even people like me who intellectually realize the lie we've all been sold on, still struggle with collaborating with our rulers because it's so deeply ingrained in us from a very young age. Thanks again for all of your support, my friends. I don't like to praise myself or this channel because there's still way too much work to do, and I don't do it for praise or adulation. I do it so we can all truly be free to live our lives in a way that we want for ourselves that doesn't involve hurting anyone else or their property or defrauding anyone else. Until the mob realizes that no one has a higher right to your life and property than you yourself, I can't feel like I've accomplished anything. That being said, I truly appreciate each and every one of you guys. From the ones who have been supporting me and keeping me honest from the beginning to my most recent subscriber. I couldn't and wouldn't be doing this without you. You're the most important part of this journey I'm on in exposing the truth. If you want to keep this journey going for us and this channel, consider supporting me by putting one of my freedom and liberty espousing designs on your favorite product from the merchandise store. There are also links in the description to all questionable authority platforms, including a new link to the QA Bitcoin wallet. Thank you all again for the support you have given me and this channel, and keep on sending me emails, leaving me comments, and giving me great ideas for new stories as well. Don't be a collaborator in this world of deception and indoctrination. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit the like button and share it with everyone you know. Find us on Twitter, as well as censorship-free platforms like BitChute and Steemit or DTube. Of course, subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to smile at someone you don't know every day.